Hello, hello. I am your host, Ryan Muncie. You're listening to the HOS Podcast, and today we're talking with Chad Clark, the director of the Hill Highland Games. And Chad is a self-proclaimed strength athlete and gym junkie, so we're going to have some fun today talking about throwing heavy stuff and being strong and awesome. And as you can see on the video, I'm getting my butt kicked in a beard growing competition right now too. So, Chad, thanks a lot for hanging out with us today.
Hey, thanks, Ryan. And your beard's a lot prettier than mine, man.
So, let's get right into it, man. What are the Highland Games? What's that all about?
The Highland Games are traditionally it's 7 events that make up, or 7 throwing events, rather, that make up a Highland Games competition. Usually, it's always done in a traditional order, with the stone being first, which everyone knows it's very similar to what you would see in the Olympics in regards to, basically the same as a shot put, just with a stone.
Okay.
Next 2 events are done for distance. It's a heavyweight for distance, which would weigh 56 pounds, followed by a lightweight for distance, which would weigh 28 pounds. Both these events are similar to what you would see in track and field with, like, say, the weight throw or the discus, when it comes to technique. After that, you have the hammer, similar again to Olympic hammer, but this is, instead of being on a wire or a chain, the Scottish hammer is thrown on just a shaft with a ball on the end of it, basically.
Okay.
After that is the signature event of the Highland Games, which is the caber toss. When everyone says, "Hey, do you toss the telephone poles?" I say, "Yeah, it's called a caber."
Right.
After that, you have the sheaf toss, which is done with a pitchfork. And basically, you have a 16-pound bag that's thrown over like a crossbar that rises. And basically, it's just thrown until the last man's out. Whoever clears the last height is the winner.
So the height for that one gradually increases?
Yeah. Usually 2 foot at a time. Usually, you start about 22, 24 foot and just keep going until there's no one left.
That sounds awesome, man. It's pure strength and just throwing cool stuff. And
it is, man. Real quick, the final event is the weight over bar, which, if you ever see World's Strongest Man, it's very similar to when they do the keg toss.
Okay.
We use a 56-pound weight, but in strongman, you have both hands. In Highland Games, it's thrown one-handed for height. And that's actually where they stole the event from, basically.
Okay. Well, that was going to be my next question. I mean, you mentioned that a lot of these resemble things that we see either in the Olympics or in World's Strongest Man. What are the origins of Highland Games, and how far back does that date?
Just, hundreds of years. The Scots, like everybody else, it just becomes pretty much just a test of manhood. Hey, I'm going to throw this farther than you can. And, they just enjoyed athletic competition. It was a way for their soldiers to, maintain levels of fitness. And over the years, it was just another way of preserving, their Scottish heritage.
Okay. So as you're going through those events, in my mind, I'm picturing Braveheart, where they get competitive and they're throwing rocks and, stuff like that.
It's just men being men.
Okay. You say men being men, but before we came on the air, you actually mentioned that in the event that you guys are putting on, and we'll get to that in just a minute, that you have quite a few females who are getting interested and involved with the sport. Yeah,
that's correct. The women's interest, the number of female athletes, has just pretty much over the last 2 to 3 years has just exploded. Which to me is a good thing. It's stuff like that keeps the sport going. It gets more people involved, and even better, just keeps growing and continuing to grow.
Yeah, that's really cool. Is there anything that you can kind of pinpoint as a reason that women are hearing about this more or getting involved?
Nothing I can pinpoint. All I can say is, I'm very glad in the way the sport's growing and including the women in. We've helped hopefully try to grow it just by putting on or adding women's classes to events like this. I know I was recently in Warrenton, Virginia last weekend, and they had the largest field of female athletes they'd had at the games to date. So it's definitely something that's growing and on the upswing, and just a good thing for everybody.
Okay. Yeah. It definitely is. It's very cool, and from a gym junkie or strength coach standpoint, I mean, it's really cool to see the females who are getting involved in things like strongman, Highland Games, even if it's CrossFit, whatever it is, getting away from.
It's just good to see people involved in athletics and strength.
Yeah. Getting women away from the pink dumbbells and the treadmills, that myth that, you have to lift light weights and high reps and spend hours on the treadmill.
A lot of these women that are coming out to compete, some are just people, hey, I want to give it a shot. Some of them were former track and field athletes. Mm-hmm. You have some women that, formerly did strongman or powerlifting and just want a different avenue to test themselves in.
Yeah. Well, so, speaking of that, I mean, how would one train for something like this? If somebody wanted to, I mean, my personality, and I think yours is too, is like, man, that just sounds cool. Like, I want to go out and just throw some stuff around and see what happens. But, let's say that somebody did that or if somebody was of the personality that they want to prepare for it before their first one, how can they, find out more about what these events are and how to train for them?
Well, with the popularity of things like, say, YouTube, and what you have going on now, it's a lot more open now and accessible for people, to just Google something and watch videos of technique. You can train in the gym all you want, be the strongest person, but it's a sport where it takes a lot of practice, a lot of technique, and just you have to put in a lot of time just learning that technique and what all involves, what all the throws involve, the body mechanics. A good place to start is if you go like a used sporting goods store. Always pick up a shot put used, dirt cheap. Start with 1 or 2 events and go from that.
Yeah. Well, and you mentioned a lot of these like weights, 28, 56, and things like that. What exactly is the object that's being thrown?
All the throws are judged on the distance thrown.
Right.
But you have a trig or a throwing.
The actual implement, like, are we talking like a rock or?
No. As far as the weights for distance, it's actually basically just a 56-pound, like lead, like round ball that's attached to a chain with like a ring handle, and that's what's thrown.
Okay. Well, cool. So tell us a little bit about the event that you're coordinating. We introduced you as the director for the Green Hill Highland Games, and I know this is a really cool event that you guys put on there annually. So tell us a little bit about that.
Okay, well, this year will be the 6th year of the event. I personally have been the director. This will be my 3rd year at it. It's grown every year. Hopefully next year it'll be even larger. This is the first year where I've actually came to the point where I actually probably have to turn athletes away because the demand's just that overwhelming. Mm-hmm. We'll run 4 classes on Saturday, September 27th. We'll do an open A class, B's, Masters, and a women's class. The difference between A's and B's is everyone starts out as a B amateur, and when you attain certain numbers and certain levels of proficiency in your throws, then you can move up to the A class.
Okay.
We're going to have a really amazing field of A's. The Masters, the odd thing about that is we're coming off a weekend where 2 weekends prior to my games is the World's Masters Championships in Scotland.
Awesome.
So I actually have people that come straight from Worlds to our games, both men and women.
That's really cool.
Like I said, one good thing about the sport, not getting off subject, but it's something that allows you to, whatever you put into it, it's what you'll get out of it. If you want to travel every weekend, that's always an option. And that's kind of the option I've taken.
Yeah.
Either helping out or competing myself. Same way for the women. They'll have the Women's World's Championships 2 weeks prior. I know a lot of the ladies will be there at my games will come fresh off that as well.
Yeah. And that's not off topic at all. I mean, I think what you said there is great, wisdom that can be applied to anything. You always get out, what you put into something. So whether your pursuit is, Highland Games or, fat loss or muscle gain, athletic performance, whatever it is, the more you put into it, the more you're going to get out of it.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a great sport. Like I said, I mean, the camaraderie, the friendship, the people that you meet. I mean, it's kind of second to none. Because of the fact that once you do travel, so much, you become so bonded with these people. They become like, same way, you have your gym family. Well, now through this sport, you have like a second family that you travel with, you see on the road with.
Yeah.
It just, it involves a lot more than just the direct competition itself.
Yeah, and that's really cool. That community environment, being a part of something with other people who are like minded. So, and you were telling me when you brought some flyers and some posters by the gym, and we've got those up at House of Strength promoting the event. But when you came by, we talked about it a little bit, and you guys are doing the event this year. It's a free event, and you guys are collecting donations. Tell us a little bit about that.
We're doing donations at fundraiser for a veteran. Mike Powell is his name, and helping people is something that's also very close to my heart. I also happen to work at a VA hospital. My dad was a veteran. My dad passed away from cancer. This guy Mike, same type of thing. Served in the first Gulf War. Later developed cancer due to exposure to chemicals. It's just a guy that needs help, man. He's like I said, he's been diagnosed with one of the rarest forms of cancer you can have. Is terminal. So we're just trying to help the guy out, man. Like I said, I've never charged anything for my games, never had any intention to, but would love to be able to just help the guy and his family out and make his life a little bit better.
Yeah, and I mean that's such a really cool thing that you're doing there. Not only to help him, but the helping people as much as you can. So for everybody listening, I mean, if you are in Roanoke area, what are the dates? It's Saturday, September 27th, right?
Yes, sir.
All right. So what time?
It'll probably start around 9 in the morning.
Okay.
And to be honest, I have all intention of having something run until there's no daylight left.
So, I mean, people can stop by at any point during the day and see, athletes throwing heavy crap.
Yeah, there'll be lots of heavy crap thrown. Like I said, we'll run the traditional 7 events. After that, we're also looking into having some moss wrestling going on. And then we're also looking into probably doing like a keg toss for height.
Awesome.
Like in strongman afterwards at the end of the day.
Awesome. So if you're in Roanoke on Saturday the 27th, come by, check it out. It's going to be a great show, and get involved. You may get bitten by the bug, and who knows, you may end up competing in Highland Games before you know it.
Please get bit.
Yeah. So if people are not in Roanoke, we have a lot of listeners who are unfortunately not here, and how can they get involved or check out Highland Games in their area?
Like I said, it's a sport that it goes on everywhere. It's called NASGA, North American Scottish Games Association.
Okay.
That's kind of almost like the mothership for Highland Games.
Gotcha.
They have them listed all throughout, through the U.S. It's broken down by month and then broken down by state. And it's something that goes, kind of referring back to whoever you want to put into it. Just in the state of Virginia alone, if you were living in state, you could probably do 6 games a year just in state without traveling outside of the confines of Virginia.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, you mentioned one of the other events that you guys are going to have kind of for spectators and to have fun at the Green Hill Games, the what is it, moss wrestling?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I know what that is. For people listening, what is that?
It's a lot of fun.
Everything you do is fun, man.
It's actually a traditional Russian strength sport,
okay,
which we're trying to get growing here in the U.S. And the easiest way to, I guess, describe it is it's almost like a tug of war with a stick between 2 athletes. 2 athletes sit facing one another with their feet propped up against like a toe board. And basically you just try to wrestle the stick out of the other athlete's hand or pull them over to your side of the board.
That's awesome.
But it is a lot of fun.
This is such a testosterone-filled primal event that you have going on here. That's great. So how did this you said it's traditional, it's Russian, it doesn't sound like it's something new. Maybe it's just new here. So kind of how did that come about? And
it's definitely it's new here. Actually, the Scots did a version that, if you look back through history books, you can see pictures and drawings of them doing the same type, similar thing at Highland Games years and years ago. I believe they actually called it swingle tree. But it does go back. It has, I guess, Russian, Scottish origins. I first became aware of it, seeing it being done in strongman contests. Again, there's a lot of crossover between Highland Games and the sport of strongman.
Right.
Looked fun. Went to Arnold, saw him, met him. I said, hey, I want to do this.
Yeah. That's cool. That's really cool. So, let's talk kind of shift gears just a little bit and kind of talk about how, some of these events can help with strength and training in general. So, as a strength athlete and a gym junkie, I mean, dude, you look like you've been lifting weights your whole life. Talk a little bit. We've done a few podcasts where we've had some strength coaches on, and we talk about being able to produce force and then also developing rate of force production. So how quickly can you produce that force? To me, jumping, sprinting, throwing, those are the epitome of force production. So, what kind of training should people do to get good at this outside of the actual event training? And also, if they do start incorporating some of that event training, what kind of carryover can they see in performance in the gym, body composition, strength when they go back to traditional barbells, things like that?
Well, one thing when you're talking about speed production stuff, obviously you don't throw slow.
No.
Yeah, everything you do basically has like a plyometric component to it. You learn how to be fast. Same thing, it's like, you don't see anybody grind away a deadlift. If you can be more explosive and the transfer from sport goes over to what you're trying to do in the gym, it just, I guess it creates or cultivates athleticism. It teaches you how to be faster. And also it affects your body comp in a weird way, the way it does your back. Like if you go out there and start throwing hammer or practicing hammer lines, I mean, you'll literally get sore in places you never knew you could even get sore in.
Right.
It's the way it affects the musculature of the upper back, your obliques, your abdominals, just hit things in a lot of, different ways that aren't hit, previously. As far as training, same type of thing, similar to any sports, like, I would have my athletes squat and deadlift. Squat, very basic, nothing overly fancy, just squats, deadlift, push press. A lot of things like that would mimic, the movements of throwing. Right. That, of course, plyometrics, again, just teaching to be explosive, how to fire out of the hole with shot put, teaching you how to extend the hips on wear bar, sheath, or be more explosive in caber.
So this is something that I'm just curious about. I don't think you and I have ever had this discussion. How did you get into strength sports in general, and then the Highland Games? I mean, when you speak about lifting weights, I mean, you clearly have some education on it. Where did all that come from?
Well, yeah, I just recently turned 42. I've been lifting weights for about 22 years. I was just a kid that got into it, and the bug bit me hard, and I'm the type of guy, if I go in, it's all in.
Yeah.
I used to do powerlifting for years. I thought, this is the greatest thing ever. It's a truly great sport. I think all the strength sports are great. Mm-hmm. But with powerlifting, you're only going to compete so often. I had some friends here locally that were throwers. It always looked like fun. It was a challenge. I said, well, hey, I really want to give this a shot. And I did. I just basically fell in love with the sport, and same way with now. It's like there's so much stuff available, so much more information, that the learning curve is so much shorter now than what it was, 6, 8, or 10 years ago when I got involved.
Do you think? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's just it's just a great thing. Like I said, I'm continue to be involved in the sport, love the sport, try to promote as much as I can. Go to all the strength clinics that I can. Knowledge is a wonderful thing.
So do you have any, give us maybe the last 2 or 3 clinics that you went to, or do you have any on your calendar coming up this year that you're going to be going to?
Well, yeah, we put on a women's throwing clinic,
okay.
Which was, again, trying to grow the women's aspect of the sport.
Yeah.
We're probably going to change the date. We'll probably do it in the spring of 2015. We'll do another one before the actual official throwing season starts.
Okay.
We had a couple people who were judges and former athletes like myself. Then we brought in a pro, Wes Kaiser, who's just a phenomenal athlete. He's also a track and field coach. We had about 10 to 12 female athletes, and just, that way put them in an environment where I guess it's less threatening, and also there's more direct, teaching one-on-one. We're going to try to continue to do things like that. throughout the next couple of years, in order to continue to help the sport grow. Another thing, I always go to the Wake Forest Strength Coaches Clinic every year. It's in January. Ethan Reeve, who if anyone's ever met or heard of, is an amazing coach. Amazing coach, amazing person. He puts on a clinic at Wake Forest for like $30.
Oh, wow.
It's like when you talk about the people that you've met over the years, it's basically like a who's who list of names in the strength sport between coaches, athletes. He gets a little bit of a mix of everybody. And like I said, it's $30. It's the greatest way you kick off a new year.
Yeah. So are you going to that in January?
Yeah, I've probably been every year for like the last decade.
Well, I have to put that on my calendar, and maybe we'll ride down there and do that together, because I think I'm interested in that. I want to check that one out. So.
Oh, it's great.
Awesome. So, and you mentioned, just the growth of the sport. I mean, do you think that a lot of that is, due to kind of social media and videos and, things like that, things like what we're doing here where we can actually, talk about it and showcase it?
Oh, yeah. I mean, social media has been a huge, I was probably one of the last people in the world that even joined on Facebook. But, it's just huge because it just allows more people to connect. And it all goes back to, when you travel, you meet people. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Next thing you know, you have connections in different states, and you see a contest posted. Oh, well, now I have friends in Indiana. I can go catch that, or I can, it just opens up so many more avenues and venues.
It's really interesting that you kind of paint that picture, because we've talked about that in a couple of different episodes of the podcast. One where we talked about recruiting, and one of the most common mistakes that middle school and high school athletes make with recruiting is they sit around and they wait to be seen, as opposed to, in the way we laid out the remedy was basically exactly what you just described. You have to, put yourself out there, go to these events, meet people, network, make those connections and open doors. And that's just one example, but we've talked about that with, that's how it works with business, with anything. So, for people listening, I mean, if there's something that you are interested in, get involved. Go to a conference, a seminar, an event, whatever. And when you're there, meet as many people as you can. Make those connections. As great as social media may be for, spreading information.
There's nothing like meeting face to face, man.
No.
Like you said, you run a great business, and with all the things you do, you both realize no one's going to do it for you.
Right.
Like with the Highland Games or the event here, it's like, I had a friend that had a vision 6 years ago that he wanted to do it, so he did it. The legwork that goes into all those things, I guess a lot of people don't understand. It takes a lot of work. But, anything in life is going to take work. Mm-hmm. And nobody's going to do anything, or nobody hands you anything.
Right.
So, if you want something bad enough, you got to learn early on. You're just going to have to do it.
Yeah. Go freaking get it.
Yeah.
Yep. So, and talking about, the amount of legwork that goes into an event like the one that you're running, we talked about, let's plug our buddy Dan at SoreNext. Are they going to be helping you out at all? Are you going to have some sponsors, not just SoreNext, but anybody else there?
Yeah. Like I say, again, thanks to Dan so much, all the guys at SoreNext. And first of all, thank you, Ryan. You're a huge help. You've been great help, connecting with people, contacts. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it. Again, I'm very fortunate when it comes to sponsors. I know SoreNext, they'll be sending up tons of T-shirts, stickers, lots of stuff for the athletes.
Awesome.
A company, Sport Kilt, who they've helped me every year, and every year their contribution grows. They're one of my main sponsors. Highland Brewing Company, I got them to sponsor them with just some pint glasses for athletes for whenever events, and some stickers for the athletes' bags.
Okay, cool.
And it just kind of goes from there. Just a lot of things we're working on. I know actually I've had a couple other like Highland Games competitions donate things to me. I know Virginia Scottish Games has donated a set of pint glasses for the winners of the Open Stone. So if you're an athlete and you come out to the games, you will definitely be taken care of through all our wonderful sponsors.
That's awesome, man. Dude, I'm excited. I'm kind of heartbroken that I'm not going to be able to make it this year. I think going to be out in LA for a conference out there, but Man, if I was in town, I'd be there in a heartbeat. That sounds like so much fun, and I know you and I are going to talk, and we're going to try to set something up where we can get either you out at House of Strength or us come to you and make that a weekend workout where we come out and throw some stuff around one day. So
Yeah, man, I mean, I'd love to. Like I said, it's a great sport. I've been blessed with all the things it's provided me with, just as far as friends, opportunities to travel. I mean, it's really nothing like it.
yeah, I mean, it sounds really cool, and um, you know, one other question for you. I mean, how did you kind of get started involved or get involved with Highland Games? I mean, where did you first see it?
Believe it or not, I think probably the first time I saw it was probably about 2 a.m. in the morning on ESPN. They used to do the show. It was called UHA, and that stood for Ultimate Heavy Athletics.
Oh wow!
And basically, they just filmed, these events at different Highland Games venues across the U.S.
Okay.
I just remember seeing, thinking, God, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, big, huge guys, just probably just throwing the shit out of stuff. Yeah, it's like, it was so cool. And, and then I guess it kind of put in mind, it's like, well, hey, I'm already in the gym. Why not make my gym stuff more worthwhile? Give it focus.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Again, it goes back to an off subject, but if you agree to do a contest or sign up for something, you'd be surprised. If you think you're training hard, as soon as you sign your name or really commit to something, it changes everything.
It does. That's a great point. I think one of our very first guests, maybe it was our second podcast, was John Gaglione, who's a power lifter and runs a gym, up in Long Island. And he said the exact same thing. Put your name on that line, commit to it, and that's going to completely change things.
It changes everything right then, man.
Yeah.
You would be surprised at how much it totally just completely just gives you a purpose. It's no longer I'm going to the gym. If you're a competitive person, you're not going to sell yourself short.
No, and even we do a lot of little challenges like that in the gym where like we're getting ready to run a Rip Dads contest. We're going to follow that up with a Fit Moms contest. And then over the holidays, we're going to have a 6-week holiday contest. And these are just little things that, people come to the gym every day. I mean, you and I are never going to stop going to the gym. We're never going to stop lifting. And the same goes for a lot of our members. But, every once in a while, you need something like a contest or a challenge that's going to refocus, re-energize you, and give you that purpose, to kind of, give you a little boost and spark some new growth and new development.
There's nothing like competition, man.
Mm-mm.
It's great. It also teaches what you're made of. And I applaud anybody that goes out to compete. Even if they come in last place, I always say, hey man, you know what? You still have the heart to go out there and put it on the line and do it in front of people, and and they should be proud of that.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great point. So let's just make sure that before we wrap this up, we're going to make sure we'll have show notes. So what that means, Chad, is we're going to put a video version of this on our website. It'll be houseofstrengthgym.com. So we'll have a blog post with this video. We'll have show notes so everybody listening can go to that site and they'll be able to click on links. We'll put links up to not only the Highland Games that you're going to run at Green Hill, but we'll have some links to some of the Moss wrestling that you talked about and the database, the NASCG. That's what you said, right?
NASGA, NASGA.
Okay, NASGA, NASGA. Gotcha. And some of those other. I'll see if I can't find a link to that Wake Forest strength camp, and we'll put that on there as well. But any other places that you might send people who are interested? Any other links that or where people can find you, or anything like that?
Yeah, I'm all over Facebook and stuff. Obviously, Chad Clark. We also have, the Green Hill Highland Games Facebook page. If you just get people to check that out, I'd appreciate it.
Definitely.
The more people like it, the easier it is to get more sponsors for next year.
That's right. And I mean, you guys are doing such an awesome event just by itself, but the way you've turned it into a fundraiser for, somebody who's done something for our country and, our citizens that's really cool.
Yeah, if you don't mind, like I said, it's an event, I'm very proud of, and I'm very thankful to be able to be in a position to help people out and do what I can for athletes. I know recently over the weekend, I got in touch with, it's called Warrior 360.
Okay.
And that's who, in the future, I really want to try to do, more charitable work for to support their organization. Obviously, it's a veterans type group, similar to the way Wounded Warrior Project is, but ran a little bit different. But very good people. You would love them. One of the main guys is a strength coach. He's also an amputee, being a Wounded Warrior himself. And it's just amazing people, and they do really a lot of good work for people. And to me, it's like people like that make the sport better, and you just want to help.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to hear about things like that and not want to do things to help them push that movement forward or get behind it any way you can. So, all right. Well, before we let you go, Chad, there's a close that we do on every single episode. So I'm going to ask you 2 questions. First one is going to be, for people listening, if they only take one thing out of our discussion today, what's the one thing that you want them to kind of leave here with?
Wow. I wasn't ready for that one, Ryan.
I know.
The one thing, like I said, I love my sport. I think it's the greatest sport in the world. But if I was to leave something with somebody, it's like, hey, man, go out there and do it. Life is short. Compete. You never go wrong with competition, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just do it. I know it sounds cliche, but
it's not, man. It's so true. So the second question is very similar to that. So it's off topic. If you could give anybody one piece of advice, and I got a feeling that it's going to be the same thing, and if it is, that's fine. But if you could give our listeners just one piece of advice, to have a stronger, happier, healthier life, what would you tell them?
Same thing, man. Just get out there, put yourself out there, and do it.
Yeah.
I mean, too many people get trapped into, well, I'm scared to do this, or with powerlifting, you see people that are strong in the gym, they say, well, I'm not going to compete unless I have certain numbers. Buddy, you're never going to have those numbers. It's never going to be perfect. You're going to be beat up, but, you just have to go do it.
Right. That's awesome, man. So, Chad, thanks a lot for hanging out with us today.
Thank you, Ron. You're the best, man.
Oh, like I said, you've got something that's easy to get behind and want to promote and help. So anything we can do to get you guys more competitors, more spectators. For everybody listening, thanks for listening. Make sure that you check out houseofstrengthgym.com, and you will see the video version of this along with the show notes and links that we talked about today. If you're not on the House of Strength newsletter, make sure you sign up so that you can hear about all the things that we have going on like this event. So that's it. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next time.